Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. Go ahead and unmute yourself, type in fire.
And go ahead, Chris, then Troy.
Hey Chris.
Great class this weekend. Still
Oh,
trying to
good, good. I'm
with
glad
the
you enjoyed it.
lymphatic one, but
Yeah, yeah.
um, so with the trauma release, I
Mm-hmm.
used that on a couple of my clients this weekend, at
Mm-hmm.
least partially. And in terms of a follow-up maintenance, one of them had a lot of. So I was working mostly on the brain in terms of and also emotional trauma. So
Mm-hmm.
after the session, she experienced, and the day after, she experienced a lot of burping and releasing, emotionally crying.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, what would be a good way
Is
to
it
flush
what
that out?
does she have
I think
like
it was a lot of brain fatigue too. Um, Trouble following or following directions or hanging on to information.
I mean, so some of that is can be the byproduct of trauma. Trauma is very
Right.
agitating to the emotional body. It was there like a significant amount of trauma in our past, or this was just something you were fleshing out, or like you were targeting something specific?
Nothing specific, although there were situations in her life that I think may have caused the accumulation of maybe the caring for a mother who was very sick. Um, and also, probably there's a lot of projections I felt
Yeah,
towards her.
that could be.
Yeah,
And not everybody always talks about the things that maybe trauma wise, and sometimes people don't realize that something was traumatizing. You know,
right.
it might be like these little things that happen, and so whenever you have like a deep trauma release, like you can always go back and do. Like if it gets a little overwhelming, go back to just like straight up like tarragon or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Um,
Tarragon,
Internally,
benzoin, rose, and just because like when you're releasing some trauma, um, the body is going through a shift. It's releasing something, and the thing is this technique is very short, but it does get to the point, and the reason is that it's actually shifting. It's not just like releasing trauma. It's actually what it's kind of doing in a way is diminishing the tendency in the mental body to like generate trauma. And it doesn't mean like actions, but like how you go through and kind of process things can make it from something that was just like maybe a little bit upsetting to something that's really like traumatizing, something that's really impactful. And we don't do it consciously, but usually that is a byproduct over a period of time of lots of exposures either to micro traumas or some substantial traumatic events. And so part of why it works so well at releasing things is it's changing how the brain processes these events
mm-hmm.
and allows them to be like processed a little bit more. And in doing so, the brain just lets it go,
Right.
like in a way. And so, like in a way, you could say it's not really detachment. Like it's not like detaching from the event. It's almost like how you would like cut a cord or clean a cord between you and a person. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like that, but to a mechanism. Like you're just like going, I'm going to shift this mechanism, and once it does, it allows for greater soul contact, and it just cleans things up quite a bit. And so after there's a shift, sometimes just time, sometimes, they are going through and processing. I mean, the goal is to make it so that maybe they don't have to have the emotional release with the crying, but sometimes it is something that happens because of a tremendous shift. So you can like have them do a salt bath, have them do a little tarragon, and if I remember right, let me look at the notes.
When you say tarragon, like internally, 2 to 3 drops with water.
Or, yeah, 2 or 3 drops internally, or just even inhalation, or you can just go back to either the like from the kit, the lemongrass and Melissa, and just have them inhale the lemongrass or the Melissa.
I'm not sure if she has this.
Okay, I thought you were doing it in the system.
Yeah, I think she has hyssop.
Hyssop might work. Tarragon, it's got to be something that's like really super soothing.
Okay.
So, tarragon, benzoin, rose.
Anything from
marjoram
from
maybe.
the, what do you call it? The class with the colors? She has
Blue healer.
Blue healer. Okay.
Yeah, sure. She could do blue healer or the sacred blue. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, either one of those would work. Actually, sacred blue would probably be ideal.
Okay.
The blue healer would be soothing to the emotional body and everything. The sacred blue would be able to like help you like maintain the shift and help. It's like soothing, but helps you like to shift the way the brain is working, like in a way.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so
So
much.
after, I'm just curious. So after all that, like you went through, you did a healing. How is she doing afterwards? Is she still having a little bit of difficulty, or?
I chatted with her last night and still feeling tearful.
Mhm.
The burping stopped, I think, last night.
Yeah,
but still feeling tearful.
Yeah, that's just the solar plexus. I mean, the burping is just the solar plexus, a little bit of tension in the diaphragm, and the tension in the diaphragm is usually tied to, autonomic issues or an automatic imbalance a little bit, and so which is usually a byproduct of like either intense stress or trauma. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Greg. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Troy, then Susan.
Hey.
Hey, y'all. I'm just checking in after like follow up from last week.
Yeah.
And I have been taking the Melissa all week, actually a couple times a day, pretty high dosage. And I think that it is definitely helping. What I sort of noticed is my focus seemed less, I was describing it as kind of like feeling like grumpy old man about how hot it was getting so fast. And I feel like my focus shifted off of that, and my body started to get really loud in places, like old injuries, just almost the whole week. Like that has been taking the mic from what I was previously talking about. I did the Melissa internally, and I've been breathing the Cystis, and I just got this adaptive immunity blend that you sent.
Yeah.
Today, I just cracked that open. Thank you so much for sending that.
Yeah. So you can inhale that and just awareness on the heart. Like, you could do front heart, back heart, or just the front heart. And that will shift things. That's a pretty potent little blend. And so it will help regulate the thymus, and it over a period of time, it kind of helps with like the sense of well-being, it's doing something very similar to like what the Melissa's doing, but a little bit stronger. You know, like the Melissa is strong because you're taking it internally, but if you were just inhaling the Melissa on the front back heart, this blend would be a little bit stronger for that. So I actually do both. I take Melissa internally and then I use this blend. I don't do it every day. I mean, I do the Melissa every day, but I don't do the other one every day. But whenever I do, I mean, I feel it. Like, you know what I mean? It takes down like a tension and agitation in the body that just nothing else seems to touch sometimes. And like a lot of times I'm not even aware that it's there until it's gone. And then I was like, oh God, thank God that was gone. You know, and after a while you get to kind of like recognize it. But give me an idea of the old injuries, what's popping up and like what's happening with them.
They just seem really loud. Like I have a pretty, physical job, and
Mhm.
um, I've been just doing that normally, but I haven't been injured recently or anything. It just seems like all the old ones just got
Right. Like give me an idea. Is it like shoulder, back, hips,
my
spine?
shoulder, which I broke probably 20 years ago and separated the shoulder from the clavicle.
Mhm.
That hasn't really like been on my radar in a long time, and it
Mhm.
has been like the Dickens how much
Hmm.
it's been hurting the last 5 days. And I don't know what, like I didn't do anything that should have exacerbated it.
Yeah. And allergies are okay. Allergies are all in control and all.
Yeah, that's been pretty good for like a month or so now.
So shoulder and where else?
um Left jaw, uh that's also kind of old injury and has always been sort of a little out of whack, and it's also been real loud recently. Um, my left arm, my left forearm, from a major laceration from my near death experience, also about 20 years ago. That also has been hurting really bad this last week. I don't know. It's just like everything, the volume just turned up on old injuries.
Hmm.
And I didn't know if it was that, my what you recommended worked really well, and then like the next thing in line just started to come up.
Yeah. Hard to say. So you're taking the Melissa. I'm just like thinking this out for a second. Give me a sec. Okay. For whatever reason, um, uh, hmm. For whatever reason, it looks like you lost a little tone in the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, and so rest and repair. And could be that you're shifting the immune system around a little bit. I mean, it could be that, but has there been any? Like, this is a weird thing. Has there been any weird dreams or dreams that have been popping up?
Um, have a recurring dream that I usually, when I wake up, I am not aware of having dreamt. Never mind specifics.
Right.
I have been aware of like a recurring dream that came up. It seems like a really positive dream.
Hmm.
Uh, and other than that, like I don't remember any specific dreams. I haven't been sleeping super great.
Okay. Let's have let's just go old school and like have you inhale some marjoram like tonight, like when you're getting ready to go to bed, like 30, 40 inhalations. Just inhale it until you feel like groggy and let it knock knock yourself out. And that's probably going to balance out the. Hold on, just like I think so I kind of got a little hit on something. Yeah, you're releasing something. Uh, $20 years ago, huh? Let's have you do that. Like go through and inhale the marjoram and do 30, 40 inhalations or a little bit longer if you can, and then just let it conk you out. And by tomorrow night, email us and let me know how you're doing with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that that's the thing with that adaptive immunity is it changes like how you interact with the environment kind of, and it also kind of redirects something that is like a negative response that sometimes it gets directed at the body, it gets like overstimulated, and when everything's kind of calming down, it looks like it's releasing a pattern of some sort to me. If I sit with it longer, I could probably almost even tell you the pattern. Like I'm getting little flashes of it, but I can't quite grasp on something just yet. But I'll keep looking at it a little bit tonight, and if I see something, I'll let you know. But let me know how you're doing tomorrow, because ideally, like even if we're releasing something, that if we don't have to like re-experience it or go through all the little details and stuff, man, it's a blessing. Like Chris's person who was having to cry. Sometimes that's a big shift, and I can remember times where Master Choa would do a healing on somebody, and he'd go into the other room and cry. Just go and cry. Just cry it out. Because it is like a little bit of a reset for the nervous system and the mental body, and very kind of soothing and releasing to the emotional body. It doesn't always end up having to be like a cry. Like I don't know that yours is trauma. I think it's just a pattern. Like the flashes I get, it just looks like a pattern of some sort. And so let's just keep everything balanced as it's happening, because a lot of times when you put something like the autonomic nervous system in balance, it's really when you can change, you can harness cycles in the body, and produce something like more stability. And so sometimes what it does is it breaks down like emotional patterns. It's not something that we like choose, but sometimes it's just a byproduct of a lot of exposures to certain events, and we just end up having this like particular pattern. And it looks like that's what it's doing. It's breaking up some sort of pattern. And anytime you have a shift in the body, it can hit some of your weak spots. For you, it's your spots that you said. But if I was going through the same process, it would be my back and my knees, and you know what I mean. Same thing. It just goes to my weak spots. And so the way to stabilize that out a little bit, different times you can use different things. But for you, I think marjoram's the thing.
Look it up. I'll give that a shot.
Yeah, but like just give it one day and then email us and let us know.
So I'm kind of just watching to see, like, did I get to sleep and sleep a little bit better? And then did the old injuries, did the volume turn down a little bit?
Wait, say that again.
So I'm just watching to see, like, do I sleep better tonight with that? And then, like, does that,
Yeah, because I mean, I don't mind explaining this, but like a lot of times it doesn't make sense. But like I'll try to because it's not necessarily about a pattern. It's kind of almost like how we energetically interact with the environment and the inner world. And there's times where the energy kind of moves inward, towards the spine. And then there's times where it emanates out. So a lot of times we're talking about, how things come in and then things go out. So sometimes in these emotional patterns, that the cycle gets stuck going either one direction or the other. And the reason I'm saying marjoram here is marjoram helps with the outward expression. And then sometimes other things would help with the inward expression. But when you go through and you do that, it is like a deep release. Like whenever you really break an emotional pattern or release like some deep emotional thing, it usually comes out of the spinal cord, like the spinal cord and the brain, but a lot of it comes out of the spinal cord. And so, I haven't really talked about the technique on how to accelerate that because it's really intense. And so here, I just want to like reestablish like the outward movement, because I think part of what's happening is the energy moving outward is getting stuck, and then it's hitting your spots.
okay.
Yeah. And so like, let's just see if it balances out. Like, we were just talking with Chris, like tarragon doesn't necessarily do either the inward or the outward. And so it's very kind of stabilizing and soothing and everything. And marjoram can be soothing, but it's soothing because it helps to reestablish that outward expression. And you tend to have more energy going inward than outward. And so it's just helping to like open that up. Like it looks like it shifted, but it's like stuck.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it probably doesn't need very much treatment, like maybe a day, and then we'll see.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I'm kind of wired that way too. Like more things go more inward than outward. And so I always have to like over exaggerate when I do that process about the outward motion. And, it's not just like the environment. It's like old memories, it's old events, it's old situations, how there was an interaction there. People either tend to externalize it or internalize it. And so a lot of times on the spiritual path, more people tend to internalize it than externalize it. The normal like public tends to more externalize it. And so let's just open up that pathway a little bit and let's see what happens for you.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Yeah.
And quick clarification for the adaptive immunity, you said front heart and back heart. Actually, you said front heart, back heart. Would that be front heart, then back heart,
Yeah.
or together?
Front heart, then back heart.
Doesn't matter what time of day that's done?
It doesn't, but it probably is better for you to do it at night, just because you can lay down and not have to be at work or go to work. Or sometimes if I do that really intensely in the morning, I have this joke with Samantha. I was like, I don't want to go to school today, because you kind of shift something. I just like I just want to lay and let it shift, and so if you do it at nighttime, you can just go to bed or lay down and relax.
So would Troy do both at night then, potentially? I don't know. I'm just.
The marjoram could be either, but I would probably do it at nighttime again, just because the marjoram should also help his sleep, and so it would also be trying to help benefit the sleep cycle.
And then go ahead, Susan.
Hey, Susan.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for talking to me.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, good. Thank you. May I ask a soap question?
Oh, sure.
Okay. I had a request for, someone said if I had my favorite soap, I would choose CRC and Rue.
Mhm.
And I've made Palo Santo and I've made Master's Blend, but I haven't made CRC or Rue. So I actually bought all the oils and I'm ready to do it. But the last time I made soap, I had a little bit left and it didn't fill a full mold. So I just made a half of a mold of Master's Blend. And then I made the next batch, which was Palo Santo, and I just put the Palo Santo on top. And I did that for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 bars. And I just thought, it sounds like a fun experiment. And I, gave them to a couple of friends and I got rave reviews because you're not mixing the oils because it's a separate batch, but they're, one's layered on top of the other. Does that make sense?
I don't understand what you mean.
So the Master's Blend went in the mold first and it's getting cool. And then I made another batch of soap and it was Palo Santo. And it filled up the other half of the Master's Blend mold. So you have Master's Blend and Palo Santo in the same bar, but it's different batches. They're layered.
So like one cools and hardens, and then there's like another layer that cools and
Correct.
hardens.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So my question, I had a request from someone who said they wanted CRC and Rue.
Mm-hmm.
Do they go together? Can I make a half a bar of Rue and then make another half a bar and then put CRC on top of Rue and CRC as a blend? Not in the same batch, but separate. Can you see that?
No, you lost me again.
Okay.
You're talking about doing the same thing where you do
Exactly.
layers.
Yes, it's not, I'm not mixing the oils in the same batch.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that could probably be okay. Go a little lighter with the roux when you're making the soap, though.
Okay. Maybe 1/3, 2/3.
Yeah, probably half.
Okay.
Half of the oil that you would usually use.
Oh, not in the amount, but in the intensity of the, okay. So would
How
you,
much essential oil you're putting in? Like cut it down by probably half.
okay,
Roux is a little intense that way. So
okay. I have the Master's Blend. I bought Master's Blend 2. Would that be a better combination with CRC or Rue? Rather than have CRC and Rue, have it be Master's Blend and Rue? Or Master's Blend and I actually have enough for Palo Santo too.
I would probably do roux with Master's Blend.
Rue with Master's Blend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will send you a bar.
Thank you. And then you could do the Palo Santo with CRC.
Okay. Okay. Great. Well, that sounds like an adventure.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's do that. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
You're so.
And again, welcome everybody. I know some of you have just come in. If you have any questions, you can type them into the chat. If you have a private question or share, you can type it over to Plant Prana. I'm just on the one device today. And then otherwise you can unmute yourself. You can raise your hand. Class related, oil related, whatever you want. And then go ahead, Barbara.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey there.
Hey.
I have a youngish mid-30s family member who suffers from chronic migraines and has been on at least 9 medications and tried the Cephaley and recently had a dental consult and they thought her jaw was a factor and they did something to take care of that and our jaw pain is gone, but it did nothing for the migraines.
Okay.
Just wondering if you have any magic.
There's like kind of phases of it, and so like I'm trying to find my my notes on this real quick. One thing you can do is, like, sometimes if you mix like peppermint with the dark blue tansy, and then like maybe 3 parts peppermint with like 1 or 2 parts of the dark blue tansy, and then mix it in a little alcohol, and you can rub it like on the neck and back and shoulders. Sometimes that will take them out of the crisis, the time where the pain is hurting. But then over a period of time, I like to do the thing with the vetiver at the base of the skull, the base of the skull up and around the ear and things like that. The thing with migraines, there can be a lot of factors. Some of it is body misalignments, and one of the things you look at is the jaw and shoulder, hip tilts and rotations, and things of this nature. But it also can have an emotional component, like it could be an unprocessed like trauma, or just like loads and loads of stress. Or do they tend to be real hard on themselves?
Quite likely. And
Yeah.
definitely lots of stress.
Yeah. I just even as we were talking, like I kind of got the thing like they're probably super hard on themselves, and so I'm looking something up here. So there's that oil butterbur, like that is used sometimes to treat migraines. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This is the thing with migraines, is you kind of hit and miss, and because there's the personality component of it. Different personality types respond to different oils in this particular scenario. And then you always want to release body tension and tension in the spine. And another thing that I always look at is like the deepening of the breath. Is there a little bit of anxiety? Things of this nature. But you could do the peppermint and the dark blue tansy, and then start with like the butterbur if they would be up to doing it internally, and the vetiver at the base of the skull. The vetiver at the base of the skull, we've been able to reduce a lot of migraines that way. It doesn't usually happen overnight. It's still kind of tied to the breath, and it's tied to the autonomic nervous system. And like you said, they're probably under a lot of stress. And so, sometimes you start to integrate the use of like some inhalation of the lemongrass to balance out the nervous system. And so a lot of times it's a very multifaceted kind of approach, and you just start kind of fixing things and then looking for it to resolve it. And it's usually not just a thing, it's usually a couple of things that are causing it. And so I'd start with the vetiver. You could deepen the breath with a little hiss up if they're into it. I do the butterbur internally, and butterbur has been looked at as like how it impacts the circulation of the brain, and they've even looked at it for asthmatic type conditions, which usually when somebody has a migraine, the breath is a bit off. And so again, that reinforces what we're doing with the vetiver at the base of the skull. And so I would start with that. You can always give them a little bit of magnesium as well. 400 or 500 milligrams of magnesium daily. And there is an herb called feverfew, like fever and then few, but all one word. Sometimes that helps. Like, it doesn't always help, but like for some people it helps, sometimes it doesn't. And so there's even a company that makes it, it's just the herb, but they call it migrafew because, it's traditionally used to treat migraines. I find that, like, back when I was doing a lot more herbal things integrated with the essential oils, it worked about 40 or 50% of the time. It wasn't always like a for sure thing. And, that's the thing with migraines. It's very kind of personal. Like, it's not always the same. So the thing is, you just start doing the dance. Like, you start going through, like, okay, if we treat this, like, how's it going? And then you find something that kind of works. And I even had a few cases where something worked and then it didn't. And so that usually tells me some sort of like emotional thing is there. And it's not that they're stuffing it, they're not aware of it. It's very, very unconscious. And so it can be an old trauma. It could be just a bunch of stress. It could be a fear that's coming up because something is surfacing, or, they're in a situation that maybe, feels similar to something that happened in the past. And as they engage this situation, sometimes the similarity is a little bit triggering. It's, and a lot of times it's not even conscious, but it feels a little similar. So then they start feeling tension of, like, trying to hold back or hold it out. And so, again, the starting point, vetiver at the base of the skull, and probably the butterbur internally. And if they need some help with calming it down, that combination of the peppermint and dark blue tansy. And I'm glad to make that for you in the liniment already. Or if you have the stuff, just mix it like 3 parts peppermint, 2 parts blue tansy, throw it in some alcohol, call it good. And then just have them rub it on their neck and shoulders, even on their back a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And did that ever sort of nightly for a few weeks and see what, that sounds like
Yeah,
more prevention.
yeah. Like I would say I would do the vetiver probably like daily for a little bit, like a week to 2 weeks, and it really should relax all of that area down. Because what you're doing when you're doing that is you're relaxing a thing called the nuchal ligament, and it opens up the breath, it opens up the neck. If there's a little bit of a misalignment in with like how your skull or like the brain sits on the base of your skull, they call the sphenoid bone. Sometimes that rotates, and this is like technical, but so there's a piece from the sphenoid, and then the back of your head, the occipital bone. There's this little joint in your head, and it kind of does this when the cerebral spinal fluid is circulating. But what happens is it sometimes torques. Like it kind of comes out of alignment and then kind of rocks. And so the tissue clamping down doesn't allow that to like unwind. So it's like almost like having a bone out of place, like in your spine that's causing you pain, but it's in your head. It's like deep in your head. And so even that thing where we sometimes do something and we're putting our awareness on the ear canals, it's the way to energetically access that little joint. And it's just a way to kind of unwind the tension in that joint. But the topical application along the base of the skull and around the ear also is a way to get it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the butterbur, couple drops?
Have them put like, maybe 6-8 drops in, and they could add like a little oil if they wanted to, and then rub it, and then just rub it all along the base of the skull.
Also not internal?
No, it's topical.
Oh.
No,
Yeah.
I said butterbur.
Oh, butterbur. 2 drops internally.
Thank you.
Yeah, butterbur and vetiver actually sound quite similar. Yeah.
And then go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Robert.
Hello.
Hey.
The experience of class this weekend was pretty amazing.
Oh, good.
And as you described trauma and the effects on the body,
Yeah.
I was listening to that and thinking of my mother-in-law, who we've talked about, who has moderate dementia.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a similarity in the symptoms
Mm-hmm.
of the effects of trauma and the effects of dementia.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me says that maybe it's more trauma with her that started all
It,
these.
it can be, and if you think about dementia, like the person feels a lot of like lack of control. Like, they feel out of control because they don't remember things, and so they're just constantly in these situations where they don't understand, or things aren't the way that they thought they were, or they forgot, or they get a little disoriented, and so all that is actually kind of traumatizing. And so trauma could have gotten her there, and then trauma could also be continuing, because that's the thing. Like, when we think of trauma, we talk about it like from a psychological point of view. We think of like, well, this person did this, or this person did that, or this situation did this, when it can be like even just how people treated you at work that wasn't really insulting, but maybe they were a little condescending or discounting or didn't value. But also it can be body pain, it can be a lot of inflammation, it could be all kinds of like physical sensations that actually register as trauma, emotionally as trauma. And so trauma is pretty if you go through and you measure like people's like stress levels and trauma levels and fear levels and all those things, trauma is usually by far the biggest, like by far. Like, and it's just because we just constantly get a little bombarded by things. Like, even like I kind of start to go down this rabbit hole sometimes, but it's just so abstract that I usually stop myself, just because it feels like a little bit like me just talking rather than educating. But sometimes when we have like certain viewpoints or certain perceptions, and when things in the world challenge those viewpoints and those perceptions, that right there is a significant trauma. Like, if you think about, like, if somebody that is doing something and it's not really impacting you, but it's like it kind of goes against what you think should be happening, or what they should do, or what's the proper thing to do, you notice that it kind of stirs a little something in you, and it might not be anger, but it's a little agitating, right?
Yes.
That is something is challenging your perception or your viewpoint. And that is probably one of the biggest sources of trauma. Is, you could almost say the stronger a person has opinions about something or viewpoints, the potential for trauma is more significant, because those viewpoints are going to get challenged, or those opinions are going to get challenged. And so, sometimes you'll notice, like, when people have gone through a lot of trauma that's very like, this happened and that happened and this happened, and then you kind of watch them in the world and something will happen, they'll go, I don't care. Like, it's almost like they're having to detach from those opinions. They don't do it like consciously, but they're doing it because I got to pump the brakes on all this trauma, and it's kind of tied to how you go through and process the trauma. And so when we were evaluating people, like way back in the day, and we were doing things with like abuse victims and stuff, one of the things that I would always push is I would tell the therapist, I was like, we need to ask them a series of questions that has nothing to do with them or their past, so we can see like how they process the world. Like, do they have really strong opinions? Do they have really light opinions? Because that right there will be an indicator of how you'll treat them. And the ones that had stronger opinions or stronger viewpoints of like what should happen in the world, or what's good in this situation or that situation, and they weren't necessarily negative viewpoints. It was just they were really firm on their viewpoint. They tended to have more trauma that needed to be released, if that makes sense.
Yes. So in my mother-in-law's case, I was talking with my wife last night, and basically there's some trauma that I had forgotten about in her life from like the very first month she was born, and there's been traumas that I'm aware of throughout her life.
Right.
And I've always felt she was stuck, like not processing that trauma and getting past it. And after
Right.
taking the class, it was like, oh, all these symptoms could be a result of
Yeah.
all these
Yeah. Very well
traumas.
could be. Yeah. Very well could be.
So part of the reason for bringing this up is I sort of made a decision last night and said, okay, let's take her off of what we were doing for the dementia and focus on the trauma
Mm-hmm.
and do that for a while.
Sure.
And then once we can start to see a shift there, move to the lymphatic part that is definitely out of whack as well. That fight, flight, freeze, well, she's
Mhm.
definitely in that. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to deal with the trauma so we can deal with the lymphatic so that things will be more what's her true normal.
Right. And so like if you are going to engage that and you're going to integrate it with like doing some healing, you could do the trauma release technique from the weekend, and then if you need to have it be a little bit more accelerated, just after that, just clean her solar plexus front and back, because a majority of where it's going to come out is the solar plexus.
Okay.
The solar plexus is a reflection of what happens in the lower centers, and then it's a reflection of things that happen in the mind, like the upper centers, but mostly like ajna throat area. And so sometimes it's not so much that it's in the ajna and throat, but it's reflected in what happens in the solar plexus. So a lot of times what happens is it's just kind of coming out the solar. Yeah.
Okay. So because of the dementia symptoms, her ability to focus and do anything for a length of time is limited. So we're starting like with the first page of the trauma release technique and doing one section of it at a time and doing it multiple times a day. So we sort of like you did in class, we went through it the first time,
Yeah.
went through it over and over and over to have an effect before we move on and do more of it.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know down the road.
Yeah, I'd be very curious. Like going back, just like within my family, my grandfather on my mother's side, he was a very opinionated guy, like very, very opinionated, and he would never use the word trauma, but like you just over the years you could see it, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And as he got older, he got a little bit more bitter and bitter, and then the dementia set in. And it's a very interesting thing. It's like what we were talking about before. They either go to a place where they get more aggressive, or they almost become kind of childlike, and they just kind of almost let it all go. And
Yeah.
that's the direction he ended up going, which was really surprising because it was not his personality. Like it was the opposite of his personality. But trauma got him there. For his situation, I can say trauma is what got him there. Like, and I remember having a conversation with Master Chola, and this is an interesting thing, and maybe I've said this to you guys, maybe I haven't, but he said that sometimes when there's like memory loss, and so I would include dementia in this, he said sometimes when somebody has a hard time letting go of something, the physiology tries to manage it, and the manifestation is a little bit of memory loss or a little bit of dementia. And it doesn't mean that memory loss is that you have a hard time letting go, because sometimes it's just your physiology and poor circulation, or there's inflammation. But when there is something that is unresolved, as you get older, the physiology tries to handle that, like just let go of it, because you are kind of preparing for the transition. And the more even if the transition is 10 years away, like the more that you're entangled in it, the harder time you have after the fact. So he said it's a mechanism of the soul to go, let's just start forgetting this now. And so, I mean, I kind of like your theory. Like maybe we just could double down on some trauma and do some trauma work and unwind that. And at the very least, it helps her, feel a little bit better, at the end of her life, and potentially helps her in the transition time. But it might actually change and shift the dementia. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that theory.
We're experimenting.
And go at a pace that she can handle. It doesn't have to be, a blistering pace or anything. I mean, but
Yeah, we got it.
but yeah. So
Great. Thanks.
you're so welcome.
Oh, our internet is unstable. Give us a sec. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, David.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Samantha. So I've got two questions.
Mhm.
One is I'm having to say goodbye to my dog of 17 years.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping you would give a little more time, but yeah,
Well,
I feel
it's gonna
that's a
be,
rough one.
it's gonna be this week or next week. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
Depending, I'm gonna try another supplement or two and see how he responds. But I think he's on his way out. I mean, he's
Okay.
like we said, he's staring at walls and he's
Yeah.
getting lost in the house. So
Yeah.
it's probably time.
Yeah.
So I'm experiencing a lot of grief,
Yeah.
and my response to grief or stress or trauma is to eat a lot of chocolate or sweets and hop out of my body and stay out of my body
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have to feel my feelings. So I'm wondering what would be the good oils over
Well,
the
first, let's start about the chocolate. I mean, like all joking aside, dark chocolate is very shrinking to the solar plexus, and it does give you a little bit of a bump with like mood and everything. And it's not necessarily something you would use to process trauma, but it can actually be a little bit grounding. Like the darker, the better. Like the more cacao, the better. And so I would say let yourself have that indulgence. Like
I have a lot of chocolate and a lot of sweets. It's not
Mhm.
just chocolate. And I'm not particular about it's not just chocolate. So I have a lot of sweets.
Mhm.
And then I'm not particular about my chocolate. I have everything from raw cacao to just store-bought chocolate. But
Yeah.
it's a
Strong
sweet too.
cacao, right? Yeah, strong. I mean, like if you feel the desire for the sweets, like you were talking about, like staying in your body and all that, I would go to like large amounts of cacao, like in the chocolate. Not that you should consume massive amounts of cacao, but like just if you're going to do it, like dark chocolate's really actually quite good for you, and so. I would do a little bit of that, but also processing the trauma and processing the grief. I mean, there's blends and everything that we make that help with that, but you can also just do like marjoram is helpful for processing grief. Rose, any form of rose can be good for processing grief. Even cypress. Cypress can be very good. And for the dog, as it's getting close, I know we've been talking about basil for a while. It's usually what we use when they're getting really close to their transition.
Okay.
And so if you don't want to put it on the dog, diffuse it in the room that the dog is in.
Okay. I can
Yeah,
do that.
like it doesn't always have to be like the topical thing. And, in the past, we've used a couple oils diffused in the room for separation anxiety. And the diffusing is actually quite effective.
Okay.
Dogs respond well to like basil and marjoram, chamomile, like especially Roman chamomile, and even valerian or spikenard. And the only thing that, like always, when we're talking about animals, don't diffuse it if there's a bird in the room. Like birds don't have the same lungs and process
Okay.
things in the air. And so like if there's a bird, move it to a different room or just don't do it with the bird around.
Yeah, I don't have a bird.
Okay.
So diffuse spikenard as well. I could diffuse spikenard.
Yeah. I mean, you could rotate them. It doesn't always have to be the same thing. And
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of nice for you and nice for the dog at the same time. And yeah, you can kind of tell, like they kind of check out, and even when you give them attention, it's like they kind of reach this point where they kind of stop even responding to the attention or the affection, and they just, the biology is driven. Like the dog that you knew is just kind of not there anymore. I mean, it happens with people too, like, you know,
Right.
but you can kind of tell, like, it's just kind of time.
Yeah. You know, he's I don't think he's in pain, and
No.
you know, he doesn't have any big organ problems. So
No, he's just like, you know, I had a dog a while back that we had to do that with. And I mean, it was old, you know, old, like similar age and everything. And, you know, we kept trying to perpetuate it and everything. And, you know, at some point, you can just tell it's just time. And
Right.
so it's just hard because, you know, you love the dog so much, and it's a tough one.
yeah.
Mm.
So for me, marjoram, rose, cypress. I have blue cypress.
Mhm.
Is blue cypress okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like especially with a dog, it's kind of like unconditional love. Like, you know,
Right.
when you have that dog, and it stirs more than just the loss of your little buddy.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a lot more
Yeah.
going on there than.
Right.
You know, so, you know, in therapy, people used to go, I know it's silly. I was like, it's not silly. Like, I've been through it. Like, it is not silly. It is a real thing. Like, it is, it makes you think about things. You know, anytime there's a death or something, that's the case. But with dogs especially, that sense of unconditional love and then having it go away is just, it's a little jarring,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So what about, you know, I know you said cacao is fine.
Mhm.
Like, if I want, you know, what my tendency is to have the sweets, and it takes me out of my body. So is there anything to help me process in my body instead of
Things like spikenard are grounding, vetiver's especially grounding. I'm sorry, I was about to sneeze. Vetiver's especially grounding. Black pepper, but vetiver's probably your best bet.
Bless you. Bless you.
Yeah, we're in a different environment, and like I've been feeling the sneezes come on all day.
Oh, well, bless you. It gives us an opportunity to say bless you.
Yeah, we went from being in a really cold environment to, what's the temperature here? Like 80 or something?
It's in the 70s.
Yeah, it's like, you know, t-shirts, and everybody's, you know, in tank tops and shorts, and I saw some guy running down the street and he was just wearing shorts, no shirt, and I was like, it is springtime here, but back home.
Oh,
it is.
that's great. Where can I
Yeah.
ask where you are?
Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, Asheville. I didn't know it's spring in Asheville.
Yeah.
Oh, I got friends down there.
It's cute. Little,
Yeah, it's a great place. Okay, so that's really my questions.
yeah.
And
Maybe when it comes time, will you just like email us and let us know or something? Like,
sure,
you could do a little like blessing for the dog and everything.
sure, I'll let you know. It looks like, I mean, he's okay, so it looks like, you know, it'll be a week or two.
Yeah.
He's not in pain and he's okay. It's
Yeah.
just, I want to give myself a chance and him a
Yeah,
chance to say goodbye.
I agree with you.
To say goodbye, and
Yeah,
then
spend some extra time with them, give them some extra pets, and
right,
you know, do all those things, and you know, have a little bonding thing before the time comes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Many blessings.
This is a private one, so if you have questions, just let me know. I'll type in, we'll type back and forth. I have a fairly intense pain that has settled in the back spleen, check area with kind of a weird shifting, sharp stabbing pain pattern. It hurts to roll to the side in bed, yet I'm fine to lie on my back or to pick up my feet walking. It throbs or I cough or when I sit up and I get out of bed. It's not a consistent pain spot. It started just last week after my sister's visit, and when I had gotten, and it's gotten worse over time. Not quite disabling, but I'm
Yeah, but it's
doing lots of
it's
yelping
uncomfortable.
and
Yeah. Okay, let's just look. I suspect some cords. Yeah, there's cords to the spleen. I'm curious. So I hear that it's a private thing, but like,
Ow!
is that Babette?
Sorry, I thought I was on. Yes, yes. I mean, I keep yelping and
I recognize that laugh. Was she going through a hard time or like health issue or emotional thing or something like that?
she's going through a real hard time. She tells me that she's good, but we both know that she's really not good. And she did not like the smell of Melissa, which I thought was not a good sign. And we're having to do all kinds of, she's being incredibly gentle with the business ignoramus, and for which I'm really grateful, but I think it's really hard on her to not yell at me about, what do you mean you haven't done XYZ? We talked about it 6 weeks ago, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, you look like you have some cords. Like I'm going to cut them right now, and let's just see if that changes it. How does that feel?
It feels a little better, but it's still one of those, it hits me I'm thinking of it as the Lord teaching me to appreciate other people's pain, and in terms of back pain. And so it's like, oh yeah, more compassion. I will have much more compassion in the future.
You're always funny about stuff.
But it seems to come and go, and sometimes it's fine to walk. But it does like pressure. It definitely likes to have me keep a pressure point on it, right under the ribs there, 3/4 of the way around the back. Ugh. Yeah.
Do you have etheric cords or ironbark eucalyptus?
I do have etheric cords, a bunch of it, and both. Yes, I have both a bunch.
Use etheric cords, inhale it a bunch, and think of your sister as you're inhaling it.
Oh, I will be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Anything with Daru or anything?
I think you just need to clean things up. Like the negative things I just cut, but a lot of times what happens is the positive cords, it is a sibling, you are family, you are connected. And sometimes those positive cords just get really super contaminated, not with your stuff, but with her stuff. And so it will eventually physicalize into your body. And so this is a way to kind of go through and clean it up.
Yeah, it's definitely, okay, great, thank you. And thank you for being in Birmingham next week. We're looking forward to seeing you.
A few more days. Yeah, we're in our process of getting there.
But you've already left home.
Yeah, we're in North Carolina right now.
That's right, yes. Oh, good, lucky North Carolina. All right, thank you all, bye.
Okay.
And go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Again. about another client. They've had several car accidents when they were younger. So he had a neck surgery a couple of years ago, and he's a massage therapist. So anything can just misalign the neck. So wondering if we have an oil that would help relieve the pain. He said it's like really, really angry right now.
So it's sharp or it's achy?
Achy.
It's achy. Okay.
Yeah. And it radiates through the shoulders.
Okay. So that's nerve pain. So with nerve pain, things that there's the pain relief for the neuropathic, or peppermint, corn mint, like anything with mint, very good for that. It helps with the pain. It's antispasmodic. It will reduce some inflammation. But like anytime there's nerve pain, especially when it's been longer than 2 weeks, and if he's talking about car accidents from a while back, there is bronchial spasms that need to be addressed. And so, topical pain relief, you could give him some galbanum internally to help calm that down. But the first target in treating like old car injuries like that is to deepen the breath. And so, going back to like hyssop or like Sitka, myrtle, anula, Almi Visnaga, anything that's really antispasmodic to the diaphragm, which will also loosen up the muscles in the neck, especially the sternocleidomastoid. And that usually will knock the pain in half. Like if you can really get it like a deep release, because like when the diaphragm is tight, it increases the tension in the muscles called the multifidi up and down the spine, which means it makes the muscles like clamp down on the vertebrae even more intensely. And so there's like excessive amounts of pressure there. So even if there's a herniated disc, a thinning disc, or even no disc, it's a way to open that up. He does look like, because the other issue with being in that kind of pain is it stimulates fight-flight response and diminishes the rest and repair mode in the autonomic nervous system. And so, to balance it out, you would use lemongrass. You could use lemongrass, but you could also experiment with if tarragon or marjoram would work better for him. I would probably rotate back and forth between like tarragon and lemongrass. Like the tarragon's going to pull him more into like tone the parasympathetic state as well as marjoram. And then the lemongrass will balance out the two sides of the, sympathetic and parasympathetic activity. And so it's a very common thing that happens with an injury, but especially with car accidents and neck injuries. It can really disrupt autonomic function. And so it's like you need to deepen the breath, but then the next thing is you want to manage the pain, but you really need to push on balancing out those two parts of the nervous system.
Marjoram, tarragon.
What's that?
Lemongrass would be inhalations, right?
Lemongrass would be, you could do actually either. Like you could give them internally, same with the tarragon, same with the marjoram, but I'd probably start with a little bit of the marjoram or the tarragon. And then after a day or two, but if he's game to just do a shotgun approach, have him take a little bit of lemongrass internally and still inhale the marjoram or the tarragon, and then giving something topical for the pain, like the, pain relief neuropathic or just peppermint or corn mint or something like that, and then do something to deepen his breath. So if with oils, use hyssop or myrtle or Sitka, something like that. The tension and the neurological I don't know what you want to call it, neurological like disharmony or however you want to use it. A lot of it's in the diaphragm. A lot of it's in the diaphragm and a lot of it's at the base of the skull. And so if you can unwind some of these things we're talking about, a lot of times those things will break.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've met this person, Greg, and he has a lot of emotional trauma too, so which probably exacerbates things. But it's pushed down.
If you don't want to say the name, maybe type it in privately, and I'll go through and evaluate them. And if there's more, I'll let you know.
Thank you so much. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm all set. Thank you.
Do you want the name right now?
No. Okay. So I would add probably put something like spikenard or vetiver on his feet. Even lemongrass and like a lotion or a base oil, you could even have him rub that on his feet. It will just help with some of the emotional stuff.
Thank you, Greg.
You're so welcome. Okay, so we're going to go through and we're going to do a practice. No more questions, right?
No one checked in, so.
Okay, so with that, let's have you pull out hyssop if you have it. Hyssop or the Moses blend. And if you don't have either one of those, cedar. And then if you don't have that, let us know and I'll come up with some other choices. But let's shoot for hyssop, then either or Moses or cedar. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so we're going to do something, we've done it before a long time ago, but it's a way to do kind of deep cleansing or a deep healing, but non-specifically. Like it's not necessarily like, oh, this is for shoulders. It's kind of for just getting everything moving, and we're going to do a slight variation of it. Okay, so it's the variation is you're going to go heart, then navel, then crown, but we do several cycles of it, but we are going to integrate a little bit of a variation. So check in with your body. If it's something in your body, we'll address that. If it's some emotional or mental thing, some external situation, some past situation, something with somebody that's in your periphery now, just reflect on the thing that you would like to address. Okay, and then just let it all go. Just let it all completely go. Begin inhaling. Your awareness is on your front heart. You're inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Your awareness is on the front heart. Jen, Marjorie, or is it? Mhm. And now move your awareness down to your navel. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on your navel. And then move your awareness to the top of your head. Your awareness is on the crown. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths. And then just let go. Let go of everything. Just let go. Think of the thing that you're healing again, if it's a physical issue, emotional or mental, if it's a situation, a person, just reflect on it right now. Let the imagery go. Begin inhaling the oil again. Your awareness is on your front heart, the center of your chest. You're still taking long, slow, deep breaths. Move your awareness to the navel. Long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the navel. Move your awareness to the crown. And then just let go. Just be still, be aware, just let go. Check in with those spots. Check in with that situation or that person. You're just being still. You're not inhaling, you're just being still. Let everything go. Just be still. Begin inhaling. Again, your awareness is on your front heart.
Mm.
Your awareness is still on your front heart. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths. Just let go for a moment. Let go of the inhalation, just let go. Begin inhaling again. Your navel. Your awareness is on your navel. Long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the navel. And then just let go. Just let go. Let go of everything. Just let go. Move your awareness to your crown, the top of your head. Take long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is still in your crown. Just let go. Let go of everything. Just let go. How are you doing? That was good. Just be still. Your awareness is on your brain. You're not inhaling. Your awareness is on your brain. Observe your brain. As you observe your brain, is there areas where it feels heavier or denser? There's like a tension or a heaviness in a particular area of your brain. Put your awareness on that part of your brain and just be still and sit with it. You're not inhaling yet. You're just sitting with it. And as you're sitting with that area in your brain, take some long, slow, deep breaths with the oil you're using. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths. You can just put your awareness on the whole brain at this point. Taking long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the brain. And then just let it go. Just let it all go. Just be still, be aware, and let go. Just be still. And I'm going to chant a mantra very gently, just to help soothe and flush things out. Keep your bottle handy, but just be still. You're not inhaling. You're just being still. Your eyes are closed. Om Mani Padme Hum Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum. Hum. Mani Padme Hum. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on the heart. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the heart. Your awareness is on the navel. Your awareness is on your navel. You're taking long, slow, deep breath. Your crown. Your awareness is on the crown. Hmm. And then just let go. Just let go. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on your throat. Awareness is on your throat. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Drop down to the bottom of your throat, the little notch between the two collarbones, the throat liner. Long, slow, deep breaths. And then drop into your lungs. Your awareness is on your lungs. Taking long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on your lungs. Move your awareness to the back heart. Just let go. Let go of everything. Just let go. Just be still. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on your front heart. Your awareness is on your navel. And your crown. Your awareness is on your crown. Your awareness is on your navel. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Move your awareness to the crown, the top of your head. Just be still, be aware, just let go. And as you're being still, your awareness is on your feet, your whole foot, the top, the sides, the bottom, the arch, the ball of your foot, the toes. Just maintain your stillness and awareness. Your awareness is on your feet. Move your awareness to the back heart, between your shoulder blades on the back heart. Just completely let go. Let go of everything. Just completely let go. So this is like a variation of something that we've done before, but within it you can kind of start exploring some other aspects, like we did with the lungs and the brain. And basically, I had you like check in with a body part. Basically, what you're doing is you're helping to displace lower vibrational energies. So The technique is from the Sandalphon class where we go through and work with Moses. But even in some of the earlier versions of lymphatic work, this was tied to that. It's also tied to a meditation practice where you're helping to physicalize light into something. So part of how you displace lower vibrational energies is you're bringing in light, which is accelerating the healing process, but it's also accelerating the evolutionary process. So it kind of helps you evolve out of what physical issue might have, what emotional, mental issue, whatever situation it is. It's something to do like when you're not sure, like I got a bunch going on, I don't know what to do, or nothing seems to be working. It just kind of opens things up for purifying the lower centers and allowing for more light or soul energy to come in. And so you can use it non-specifically for a range of health issues, psychological, materialization type issues, working with angels, kind of anything goes. And, I go back to the thing that is said in the Bible by King Solomon. He says something to the effect of purify me with hyssop, make me as white as snow. And the white as snow is tied to this light aspect and the aspect of when you begin to experience like a pure experience of the soul. It's just this brilliant white light, like it's a brilliant white light. And sometimes it's referred to as the causeless light. And you're helping to tap into it. It's hard to tap into because our mind goes to a form, right? And here it's an essence. So we're kind of using these mechanics to be able to get you to, for any of us, including King Solomon, this was a practice he did, where you are able to put your attention awareness on this light. And it has great healing effects, it has great cleansing effects. It helps to displace lower vibrational energies. It also helps diminish like projections that might be coming from like responses from, people coming at you, pushing at you. Hyssop in particular is exceptionally good for helping to reduce the tendency to absorb negativity from other people and the environment, right? So if you're around a particular toxic person or toxic situation, this diminishes the tendency to absorb it, and sometimes we might not even be aware that the person is like pushing towards you, like, they might be projecting a bunch of negativity, but not to your face, like as soon as you walk out of the room, they might be doing something, or it might not even be somebody you interact with. You could be in California, they're in New York, it's some family member, and every time your name comes up or something's going on, they sit and they grind on you. And so this is just inhaling hyssop works, just taking a hyssop bath can work, but this like very much deepens the effect. And so I thought I'd open it up if you want to share experiences or ask questions about any of this, or we still have about, I think, 10 minutes or so before we shift over to Astara. So go ahead and fire away.
Was the agitation I was feeling lower vibrational energy?
Yeah, it could be lower vibrational energy. It also could be energy from somebody else, especially in this particular technique. Like in a way, I wouldn't say that you're detaching from it, but how like sometimes you get a piece of mail in the mail and it's not yours and you write return to sender. This is the etheric version of return to sender. So if somebody is projecting a bunch of negativity, we don't want to wish them harm or anything or escalate it or anything like that. But it's also, you don't need to absorb the things that are being projected. A lot of times these are unconscious from other people. It's not like they're sitting around going, oh, I'm going to get you. They're having emotional responses. They get triggered, they get agitated, they want their way, whatever it is. And it's just a way to dissipate it or push it back. And, it frees you up. But sometimes the thing producing anxiety or panic or agitation in your body is actually not from you. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's hard. Most times it's hard to tell. So you go through and you treat the stuff in you, but you go through and you do this just in case it's coming from somebody else. And by going through and doing this, it should be calming and soothing. But the thing that amplifies it is the part where we deepen the breath and the part where we really did that on the brain. We just kind of touched on it once, but if we were doing this every week over a period of time, we'd keep spending more and more time on that practice with the brain, practicing brain awareness. And so it produces a deeper result. And over a period of time, it starts to diminish your reaction when people are being aggressive or violent or trying to manipulate you. You just become less reactive. And it's almost like you get to make more of a conscious choice, because you're not in that reactive state. And so, we've been doing different things over the last month or two, tapping into this. This is just a different version of it. If this doesn't resonate with you, there's plenty of other things that we do that would be a different way to do it. But this is just a good old fashioned way of doing it. There's these practices about doing purifications with hyssop. And at one point I was thinking about teaching a class that's just like the hyssop class, because we could go so deep on hyssop, but we'll probably just examine these things over a period of time. But
And then go ahead, Ralph.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Greg. I picked an old event where I had a falling out with a high school friend.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a real sense of release.
Mm-hmm.
And, just a real sense of release for this one. So
good. Yeah. I'm just curious, how long ago did the falling out happen?
35 years ago or so.
Oh, wow. So it was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all have things like that, you know what I mean? And the other issue too is friends in high school, as you get older, you might grow apart and sometimes there can be a little weirdness, a little awkwardness as well.
Yeah.
But if you had
and it was definitely, we were headed in different directions, and neither one of us had the language or the presence to say, hey, we're headed in different directions.
Right.
So anyway. Also have a couple of oils questions.
Yeah, fairly.
Melissa, for calming physiology, is there a B choice for that?
What part are you trying to calm?
Just physiology in general.
Just physiology in general. So the Melissa is especially good for if the lower emotions get a little bit agitated.
Yeah,
or
those are the ones. Lower emotions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or the thymus. Or it can be soothing to the nerves, but across the board. How we were doing some things with the autonomic function.
Yeah.
It's just soothing to all the nerves. So other options would be oils that are blue,
Okay.
Like German chamomile, yarrow, dark blue tansy, even Cape chamomile, even though it's a lighter color, or blue cypress.
Yeah.
Roman chamomile can be a little bit. Milfoil can be a little bit.
Okay.
Sometimes even helichrysum, and so, you know, when you're dealing with a specific system, sometimes you can be a little bit more targeted, but a lot of those do it across the board.
Okay.
You know? And also don't rule out galbanum. Galbanum is actually very soothing to a bunch of different kinds of agitation in the body.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
I think got galbanum.
Yeah.
Spruces. I was looking at getting a spruce, and there's several different kinds of spruce listed on the website.
Are you just wanting to look at something general, or are you looking for something super specific?
Just generally?
Get black spruce.
Black spruce?
Or white spruce. Yeah, either
black or white.
Yeah.
Okay.
But black spruce is a little bit more for supporting the kidneys, but more adrenal function, and white spruce a little bit stronger for the nervous system.
Okay.
So, but both do both of that. It's just like one's a little bit better for one and one's a little bit better for the other.
Okay, so
white spruce are a little bit more heady. Like, you know what I mean? It's not super heady, but it's like you feel a little bit more up in the crown.
Okay.
Black spruce, you feel it more in your organs.
Black spruce was for kidneys and adrenals,
Mm-hmm.
and white was for nerves, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Can you use other oils?
The one that you could probably get away with, especially for the absorbing of negativity from the environment or other people, is chocolate root cleanser. So your choice would be like Moses, chocolate root cleanser, hyssop, could use cedar. After that, the effect is not quite as potent. So, I mean, you could probably use. You'd probably get somewhat of an effect with frankincense, but not quite the same. But it would still have an impact. Yeah.
It sounds like this would be a great practice for before and after giving an energy healing to clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It helps you to anchor light. It helps bring in light. And then, you know, you could do like a few cycles before, do the healing, and then afterwards, maybe even just do another cycle or so. It'll clean you up. Yeah.
How would we use Melissa spray?
Spray it like down the front of you, but especially in the chest area. Okay. Well, we're gonna post the link to Astara right now. We still have a couple of minutes, so it gives you a little bit more time to hook on, and we are gonna bless the prayer petitions, but also Ukraine, Russian war, and the earthquake in Turkey. Thanks for joining us tonight, you guys.